It's a new year, and you know what that means. A brand new year for some fantastic movies. There's so many movies coming out. This was one of the hardest lists that I have ever put together. In all the top 5 lists I've done through my old show, the morning show that I did a couple of years ago. It was crazy, but I'm excited to talk about top 5 most anticipated movies of 2022. And speaking of fantastic, I can't think of 2 better guests to have on this show. First up, we have one of the co-hosts of the Fantastic People podcast, Mr. Regan Bell. How are you, sir?
What's up? Doing good. Glad to be here.
And his co-host, his cohort, if you will, also a part of the Fantastic People podcast, Mr. Christian Jones. How are you, my friend?
Doing good, sir. Happy to be here.
Fantastic. So I've never done this before where I've had guests on to do a top 5 segment, and it's really exciting because I love top 5 lists, and I don't know if you guys have ever watched the Watch Mojo YouTube channel where they do their top 10 list of so many different things. What I love about these lists is they create such great conversation because I'm sure we're going to find out your guys' list is going to be different than mine. Some of them are going to be the same, but it really kind of stops and makes you think like, oh, maybe that should be on my list, or maybe, that shouldn't be on my list.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I thinking about this, I was like, oh, what movies are coming out? And as I'm looking through it, I was like, oh, that one. Oh, wait, no, that one. Oh, that one's a good one too. So yeah, it is challenging to narrow it down, which makes you really think about them.
2022 is a special year because the release schedule is insane after we've basically punted on these tentpole franchise films for 2 years.
Yep.
And especially now post No Way Home, where we know box office success is possible again. It's going to be a crazy year at the theater.
Yeah.
And there are some movies that I left out because they say they're coming out in 2022, but they don't have a specific release date. Like I really wanted to put Knives Out 2 on my list, but it still doesn't have a release date. And the first one was one of my favorite movies of the last 5 years. I'm really excited for that whenever it comes out, whether it's 2022 or 2023. So what we're going to do is we're going to do this in a rotation. So Reagan's going to kick us off with his number 5. Then Christian's going to list his, and then I'll close us out, and then we'll go to 4, so on and so forth. And then at the end, I'll read off the list that you, the listeners and viewers, sent in. So, Mr. Bell, would you like to get us started with your number 5?
With my number 5. So I'm going to throw a curveball, probably something you were not expecting. Legally Blonde 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is this legit? This
is legitimate. So I will say, like, look, it's one of those, the Legally Blonde franchise. I would never have expected another movie to come out if you had asked me 2 or 3 years ago, right? It's one of those things that it's you love to hate, you hate to love. Like it's kind of a quirky, awkward, like you say it in public, like, oh, I like that movie. But growing up watching movies on TV. It was one of those movies that would come on like all the time, right? On TBS, and it's just kind of on. You see the whole thing, and after a while, you're like, you know what? This is fairly entertaining, and it's got some good little one-liners and quips. And so to do it this much, like this long after the second one, I'm just genuinely curious. Like, what is this going to be like? How's it going to go? And is it gonna have the same appeal that the earlier films did? So I'm looking forward to it in that, like, it's probably not going to be good, but it'll be fun to watch, like what they come up with and how they do like a throwback.
If you had made me make a bet on what movie would have started these lists, I would not have guessed Legally Blonde at all.
That's why I said we're going to throw you a curveball. But no, I did. I looked through and I was like, honestly, like, yeah, that's something. I don't know. It'd be cool. It's a throwback to a simpler time in life. Like a lot has happened since those first 2 versions came out. And 2020 COVID being one of those things. And so you talk about going to the movies and you think of a simpler time. You want a simpler time when movies like that were coming out and they were a hit. And so I think, maybe there's a little bit of that nostalgia there too, like to just go to the movie and have like a nonsensical, like just sort of funny story, nothing too serious.
Yeah. I can see that. I'm going to go one that has been on my top 5 list because I love to do this every year, Derek. So thank you for having us on, because this is like an annual thing I do on my Facebook, is put my top 5 films for the upcoming year. This one has been on the list 3 years in a row now. Top Gun Maverick. I love the first one. And listen, he may be crazy, but I'm a Tom Cruise addict. I love pretty much every movie that guy's ever done. And the trailers, the visuals for this look phenomenal. I really believe he learned how to fly that jet and is doing all those aerial stunts. And I can't wait to see what they cook up. I mean, I'm not a big Miles Teller fan, but he looks like Goose. And if he's supposed to play Goose's son, I bought it. I believe it. So I have high hopes for this movie. I have high hopes that maybe we'll see even more, in this franchise. I'm pretty sure they filmed a little bit at NAS Pensacola, which is where I work. Rumor was Tom Cruise was walking around base a few days. I'm just really looking forward to this movie. I have pretty high expectations for it.
It's interesting you bring that up, because that movie is on my list too. In a way, it ties into Regan's choice of Legally Blonde 3. They both remind me of simpler times. The movie came out, the first one came out the year I was born. And I remember watching it as a kid, and I was just blown away by the visuals. I thought the story was cool. It's just one of those fun summer blockbusters. And I'd say the same about Legally Blonde 3. And I've gained a lot of respect for Reese Witherspoon as an actress, especially after watching The Morning Show. She is so good on that show and other things that I've seen her in. Like, as her career's progressed, she's gotten way better as an actor. So I'm curious to see what she brings to the table in that role now, and how it's going to be different than it was in the previous 2 installments. But Top Gun Maverick, I've been waiting on this movie like you, Christian, for years, and it seems like we're finally going to get it. But
fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. My number 5 is Sonic the Hedgehog 2. I brought this up on Nerd Cave Retro a few weeks ago. I loved the first movie. It was way better than it had any right to be. I was just as, if not more, nervous for that movie than I was for The Force Awakens. Because I was thinking, because you think video game movies, chances are it's not going to be very good. But it had heart, it had charm, it was funny. They got the character of Sonic down pretty much perfectly. I thought the human actors were a nice addition. And now we're getting full-on Jim Carrey as insane Madman Robotnik. We're getting Tails, Knuckles. The Chaos Emeralds are going to come in at some point. So we're getting to delve more into the lore of the video games, which I think people are going to love. And the trailer was great. I think Idris Elba is perfect casting for Knuckles. I'm glad they're bringing back Colleen O'Shaughnessy to voice Tails. She's been the voice of Tails for years in the video games. Can't wait for this movie. The funny thing is, this comes out a week before my wedding. So it's a nice little, and then my fiance is a huge Harry Potter fan, and if I remember right, Secrets of Dumbledore comes out the following week. So it's like a cool little pre-wedding gift for both of us. So
that's awesome.
Really stoked for Sonic 2.
Yeah, I do have a question. Do you think we'll see Shadow in any point in this franchise, or maybe even in this second film?
I wouldn't mind a tease. I don't want them to introduce too many of the characters. Like, I hope they just keep it at Tails and Knuckles, and maybe in the mid or post-credit scene, we get a tease of Shadow or maybe Metal Sonic. Could be a route they go down. And I would say for the third film is when you bring in either Metal Sonic or Shadow and Amy. And just gradually bring in the characters and not try to cram them all into one movie.
Yeah. I did see the trailer now. I know that in that conversation on Nerf Kid Retro, I had not seen it. I did see the trailer. And yeah, it does. It looks like a great movie. It makes me want to go back and watch the first one. So
have you not seen the first one?
I have not.
Dude, you're really missing out. Derek totally sold it correct. It's way better than it has any right to be.
Yeah.
It's a blast. And that trailer for the second one, it's hard to imagine there being a better trailer for that movie than that.
It looks exciting. It looks like they pull on all the elements from the game, like you said, that really are memorable and matter. So yeah, it looks like a lot of fun.
Yep. You're up, Regan. You're number 4.
Oh, my number 4. So speaking of Tom Cruise, Mission Impossible 7. I've not loved every Mission Impossible movie, so I'm not here to say I'm a huge Mission Impossible fan, but overall they're a blast. And the last couple ones that have come out, I have really enjoyed the theater experience, and just another chance to see old man Tom Cruise try to do his own stunts and maybe twist his ankle again is also a good time. So.
Yeah, I mean, these last few movies have been Mission Impossible movies have been excellent. It's the only reason why it's not on my list is because I put Top Gun. Like, I'm just as excited for that movie as I am for Top Gun.
What shocks me the most about those movies is they seem to get better with age.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I thought after the third one that was it. Then they announced the fourth one, and I was like, maybe this is, they're going to the well one too many times, but I've been pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's like, the first two are like, oh, those are really good. The third one, you're like, well, okay, maybe they should stop. 4? Really? Oh, well, okay. And then it just kind of keeps graduating from there. So I'm sure they'll pack. There's been enough time between them as well now, obviously with delays, but I think it's about time. I don't hate the concept of kind of like turning that into a James Bond, and not that we get a new actor, but that it just keeps the theme going.
Killer music too.
Yeah,
absolutely.
My number 4 is the Pixar Buzz Lightyear film, Lightyear. I love that trailer. Great use of the song Starman by David Bowie. Everything about this looks good. Chris Evans is perfect casting. I am a sucker for kind of Lost in Space films, everything that's ever come after 2001. That's my kind of crap. And for Pixar to make their own version of that, sign me up. I mean, that's a combo of words that say Christian Jones written all over them. So I'm awesome. Very, very excited for this film.
Yeah, I think it is the perfect movie that I absolutely needed, that I did not know that I needed. Like, I would have never sitting around chatting, whatever. I never would have said, you know what, we need a Buzz Lightyear movie. But when I saw the trailer and I saw that it was coming out, I was like, holy cow, why haven't we done this already? Like, this is perfect.
I think it's a great example of taking an existing character from an existing IP and reinventing it to make it feel completely different. Because I'm totally with you.
Yeah.
When this movie was announced, I thought, do we really need this? And I saw the trailer and I thought to myself instantly, this is the movie that none of us knew we needed until we saw the trailer. And I honestly, I'll watch more because they're going to release more trailers and commercials, but I don't need to see anymore. Like, they've already sold me on the movie. I'm going to go see it.
Yeah.
You think of Buzz Lightyear as one of the most iconic characters from our childhood because it was from one of the most important animated movies of our generation, the original Toy Story.
Yep.
Well, and that's a character that I feel like as the series went on, they didn't know what to do with. And so it's important to me, I think, that there's a new movie that reintroduces this character that I love to the next generation of kids. My kids will fall in love with Buzz Lightyear, not just because of Toy Story 1, but because they saw this film. And that's exciting for me. I mean, as a parent, I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And as I was looking at that, I thought of that too. I was like, man, my kid, she's going to love this movie. Like, it's going to not have a clue. I mean, she's seen Toy Story, but I don't think she'll connect the dots. Like, it'll just be a really cool movie. Yeah,
absolutely. My number 4 is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Going into the Spider-Verse, I wasn't sure if I was going to like it because of the animation style, but it quickly grew on me. And outside of No Way Home, it rotates between 2 and 3 as far as my favorite Spider-Man movie, because I think the original is a love letter to the franchise and its longtime fans. And I can't wait to see what they do with this next one, with seeing that Miles is potentially going to travel to other universes. There's so many things they could do. I would love if they go to the 90s animated universe. That would be, I would probably cry. more so than I did. Well, maybe not more so, but like I did for No Way Home. So there's just so many cool things they could do. And Miles Morales just has such an interesting story, and he's become so popular with Spider-Man fans that you can't help but be excited for this movie. So it's my number 4.
Yeah, it's on my list as well. So I'm going to save my thoughts for when it comes up for me, but totally agree.
The only reason it's not on my list, and I'm ashamed to say this as a Spider-Man fan, I haven't seen the first one.
Oh, man.
I know
You're missing out.
I know I'm missing out. I even actually had it saved and downloaded on Netflix when it was there. And just for whatever reason, I don't know if it was shows I was binging or what, I just didn't actually stop and watch it. And so I can't be excited for it because I need to see the first one first, which I know it's good, but yeah.
You'll love it. It's so good. But Regan, you're up for number 3.
My number 3 is actually is Lightyear. So I've already shared my thoughts there. But just going back even to nostalgia, like I will say this, I will be the first person to say nostalgia is I'm really kind of getting burnt out on it. But every now and then they grab something where I'm like, okay, all right, we'll go one more time. And I think this is a great example of that. I don't know if you ever saw the cartoon that they did, the TV show, obviously cartoon.
Yeah.
But I thought that was a really fun, approach to the character and the lore that they kind of built out there. I'm excited to see that it's going to be kind of another approach to the character, like a more serious approach to the character. It seems like, it's going to be cool to see.
Yeah. Well, then I will go the one that Derek just talked about, which is Spider-Man, the Spider-Verse sequel. I love the first one. I think it's excellent. Like you said, it's a love letter to everything Spider-Man. What I'm really, really excited for this film is I love the animation style of the first one. I mean, it grabbed me right away from the first trailer. This one looks different. It's, again, a new animation style. They've said every universe they go into will be different and, a different style of animation. And that gets me excited because the crew working behind these movies are incredibly talented. The voice cast is amazing. Adding Oscar Isaacs into that is going to be great. Shameik Moore is great as Miles Morales. Haley Steinfeld kills it as Gwen Stacy. I mean, like, literally everything about these movies is perfect. It's going to be hard to top the first one or top No Way Home, but I think it has a shot. I'm a firm believer that we could be looking at another great Spider-Man movie, which will be 3 in a row.
I have little to no doubt that it's going to be great. The trailer looks great. Building off the success of the first one, it's going to be another one of those like day one watches for me. I can't wait for that movie. My number 3 is Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. We saw the trailer for it, or I'll say teaser, after No Way Home. And I was excited for this movie anyway because of the potential of what it could be.
Yep.
And I've been saying for a while that the future of the MCU hinges on the success of No Way Home and Multiverse of Madness, because as much as we love the shows, the more casual fans aren't going to watch them, or they're not going to be as well versed in it as they are the movies. We saw what No Way Home did, and judging by the teaser we saw at the end of it for Doctor Strange, I think they're going to handle the multiverse correctly. I was concerned about it when they introduced it, and they hinted at it in WandaVision, but after Loki, I was like, this could be really cool, but they could burn out of it really quickly. But I'll just say this, they have the potential to do some really crazy cameos that rival what we saw in No Way Home.
Yep. Yeah, that is actually, just to jump ahead, that's actually my number 2. And so I'll go ahead and share my thoughts here. I agree. When the initial coming off of Endgame, I was like, where do we go from here? Like, this was the ultimate, I mean, the tension and just this climax of 10 years of Marvel has come to an end in the most amazing way possible. Like, we're really going to do it again? We're really going to release more movies after this? I don't think I want that. And then what they've done since setting up the multiverse has just been like, oh my gosh, this is genius. And so to see it really just, I assume that sort of the the tipping point for the whole phase and the whole saga is going to be in Multiverse of Madness. So I'm really looking forward to where it's going to go. I think so far they've been doing a good job. It makes brilliant sense to me when you think about how Marvel started as a company in the cinematic universe and how they pieced all their content out everywhere. And now they got to tie it and connect it all together. And to me, that is just that. What else do you do? I mean, this makes so much sense. And so I'm excited to see them do consistently, like you said, cameos, maybe even bringing in and quote unquote canonizing. And you don't even have to canonize. Like, you can just straight up, it's okay that these, you can just reboot, and it's okay that it doesn't match up because the multiverse. And so
everything's canon now, technically.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, everything is. And that's okay. And things are different than they were in the comics. Well, that's okay. The multiverse, like, it just fixes everything I've hated about some of these earlier versions of these, and I critique the earlier, well, I guess I don't know. I don't know if we're saying spoilers here, but I critique it a lot because of some of the mess ups that they did early on, and now it's totally fine. And so, yes, also the teaser we got blew my mind. I was like, wow, they just did that.
Yeah.
And so I'm ready for it. I'm totally ready. That's probably it sounds like it should be my number one, but we'll get there.
Well, it is my number one, but I'll go ahead and talk about it now since you guys have talked about it as well. Doctor Strange, my all-time favorite comic book character. I have more Doctor Strange graphic novels than I do any other character. And I cannot imagine a more perfect person than Sam Raimi directing it. I mean, I think Scott Derrickson did a great job with the first one, but Sam Raimi was born to craft this character in live action. And I mean, even simple things that we got in the trailer, for example, Strange Supreme was the best part of What If. I wasn't big on that show, but I loved that episode of that show, and bringing that character into live action. Chef's kiss. Absolutely. And like you guys said, there's so many possibilities of what they can do cameo wise and references to all these other universes. I mean, it's a concoction I'm excited to see. And what's really even got me more excited now post No Way Home was we saw that they did those things with a story purpose. It wasn't just cameos for the sake of cameos. Like, there were reasons they did those things. I can't help but think you're putting Wanda as a main character in this story. We're going to see some X-Men somehow. And you're going to say, here's this alternate past for Wanda Maximoff, maybe her comic book history. We're going to be able to see some of those paths cross in this film. Like, I'm just excited for what we can do and what they will do with this film. And Benedict's so great. I mean, he's just the guy was born to play Doctor Strange. Like,
exactly.
I'm very excited for this movie.
Well, and it also gives us 10 plus more years of Marvel movies and in a way that I want it. Like, again, I was kind of getting superhero movie burnt out. I was like, can we really, like, the best movies in theaters are really just always Marvel movies? But I mean, holy cow, yes, please, now give me more. It's just the way this is going to go is almost endless now.
And I think it would be worth, because we could do a whole separate segment on this, cameos that we'd like to see and ones that we think will happen, because the possibilities are endless. You mentioned the X-Men, and if one in particular showed up, you guys would probably hear me scream from the theater. But that we'll save that for another time.
Sure. Yeah.
But my number two was mentioned earlier, Top Gun Maverick, much for the same reasons, Christian, that you mentioned. Loved the original Top Gun, and I always thought to myself, why didn't they ever make a sequel? And now we're finally getting it. I think the cinematography looks incredible. The shot of Maverick flying off of the boat, and it's almost like a point of view shot, and you see the boat just zip off really fast behind him, is just like, it blew my mind as an aspiring filmmaker and just a fan of the medium in general. I can't wait to see what they do. It has a similar feel of the original, but I think it'll be just different enough that it doesn't feel like a rehash. This is a perfect summer blockbuster movie, and I can't wait for it.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's, I mean, you say, like, well, why didn't we get a sequel, way back when? Honestly, like, I think that getting it now is I think that's really good. Like I think it's neat to kind of see the time transpired, and maybe it's a reboot of the franchise, but not in a rebooty way, which I think is really, really brilliant. We're now in an era where we can reboot movies by bringing the original people back, but like giving them a different role, and that like we're older, which I think is pretty cool. It doesn't always work, but I think for this, it really, really works.
Yeah, that's a good point.
All right, Reagan, what's your number one most anticipated film?
So number one, and it wasn't, if you had asked me this question probably 2 months ago, I think that's right, two or 3 months ago, it would not be this, but I'm going to go with the Batman. And the reason for that, I've always enjoyed Batman as a character. Probably when it comes to the DC universe, like I probably could pin down Batman as one of my favorites or my favorite. But I recently went on a deep dive. If you listen to one of the episodes of the Fantastic People podcast, where we have, holy cow, wow, his
Jacob
name
Craig.
escaped me. Jacob Craig, yeah, we have Jacob Craig on as a guest. He talks about Batman, his love of Batman, and the whole saga. And I realized on that episode that I had seen most of the movies, sort of. I hadn't really watched them, and I was so young that I didn't have the same appreciation for movies. So I did a deep dive, went back to every iteration of Batman in the cinema, and I watched all the way back to the 60s version and tried to do a comparison and just really soak it in. And when I did that, I fell in love again with both the character and the cinematic approach to the character. Really, really enjoyed that journey. And so I was ripe timing for me to do that, to then have another Batman movie coming out next year. So I'm really looking forward to Robert Pattinson's approach to the character. I wouldn't put him anywhere close to one of my favorite actors, but sometimes those are the performances that really surprise you and really take you in, much like Heath Ledger's Joker, where, that was so much different than anything we had seen. Very dark. The best performance of his life, albeit the last. And I think that we could see something really spectacular from Robert Pattinson in this movie, especially it seems like they're going really dark, which I do appreciate. And so, yeah, I'm ready to just take it in. It's going to be probably an intense ride, and that's good coming off of Batfleck. So,
yeah, I was one that when they initially announced Robert Pattinson, I was a little reserved about it because everyone makes the Twilight comparisons, but after watching him in The Lighthouse with Willem Dafoe, was totally sold because he's actually a very good actor, and I can't wait to see what he does with the Batman Bruce Wayne character. And like you mentioned, they're going darker, it seems like, than they've ever have before. But I'm okay with it because Batman traditionally has been his most popular when he's a darker character. So why not go all out with it? And I will say this, from the most recent trailer, I love this iteration of the Batmobile. It looks so cool. Like the Tim Burton one will, to me, always be the most iconic, but given this reality, this story, this universe, was the perfect Batmobile choice. That shot of him just driving out of the fire was so awesome and made me so excited for this movie.
I think wait. You look at the cast of this film, it's incredible. I think I've been pretty pro Robert Pattinson since the beginning, but I've followed Robert Pattinson's career pretty strictly. Like I've been a fan of his for a long time, even his, indie flicks that no one else saw. Like I think the guy's been killing it for since Twilight, honestly. But I mean, Colin Farrell, Zoe Kravitz, Paul Dano, Andy Serkis. I mean, the cast is phenomenal. Matt Reeves is a great director. Both of his Planet of the Apes movies have no business being nearly as good as they are. And they're, the third one's a little iffy, but they're both great. There's a lot to be excited for. I'm a little more apprehensive on this film than I think other people are because I enjoy kind of campy Batman. I enjoy kind of the ridiculousness of it, of just a rich guy dressing up as a bat to fight crime. And that's obviously not what this movie is going to be. No. I also am a little nervous because, it seems heavily inspired by Batman Year One. Batman Begins is a pretty darn good movie that's also inspired by Batman Year One. So I'm a little nervous if it's going to really be able to top what Nolan did, but I'm still excited. I mean, all the pieces are there for it to be great.
Yeah. Oddly enough, did not intentionally put a Reese Witherspoon movie on my list and a Robert Pattinson movie on my list when they were both in
Water for Elephants.
Yeah. There it is.
I had that. I was almost going to say it. Say it.
I dig that though.
Yeah.
What was my number 2 is kind of pulling from Reagan's Reese Witherspoon pick. Just because I'm so curious what this movie is going to be, Avatar 2. Avatar, very famously, James Cameron went 12 years between directing Titanic to directing Avatar because he wanted the technology to catch up with his vision. It has now been 14 years since that movie came out. So it's a longer gap between Titanic and Avatar than Avatar 1 and Avatar 2. Sam Worthington basically doesn't have a career anymore. I just want to know what this movie is going to be. And why we're still pouring billions of dollars into making them. Hey, but Pandora and Animal Kingdom rocks. So if it gives me more Flight of Passage rides and it, blows away the cinemas again, they released an image today of a shot from the movie, and it looks, visually looks stunning. And I'm hopeful the plot is better than Avatar 1.
Please, oh my God.
But at the very least, I just want to know what this movie is. I've waited half of my life for it almost. So yeah, Avatar 2, December 2022. Well, if it happens.
Look, if I have to make a prediction, just watch Fern Gully 2. I bet that's the plot. Like
We'll
Fern
see.
Gully was the plot of the first one. Watch Fern Gully 2. Like it's got to be it.
If they ever had made a sequel to Dance, it's going to be Waterworld. If the first one is Dances with Wolves, number 2 will be Waterworld.
Yeah.
I'm going to be thinking of that movie now the entire time I watch Avatar 2.
Yeah. That's what it is. That's the plot.
Yeah. We'll definitely see.
It was visual. To your point, Christian, it was the reason it was successful, I think it was visually unlike anything we'd ever seen before.
Yeah, never been done before.
It's what made it brought IMAX and 3D into the mainstream. Every single movie. I've seen so many movies in IMAX and IMAX 3D since then. 14 years later, it better be visually more amazing. But is that enough for me to care? I don't know. I'm super critical of the whole thing, and so we'll see.
I wouldn't say I'm excited for it. I'm more so intrigued. I'll definitely watch it. I'm just intrigued as one, to how much hype it's going to get, two, how it's going to look once we actually start seeing footage from the movie. And then I'm sure it'll probably break more box office records and will probably surpass Avatar 1 as the highest grossing movie. Cameron's got a great track record.
Yeah, you can't argue against it.
Does it beat Endgame?
No,
that's the question.
It won't be. I think it'll be very close with Avatar 1. I don't know if inflation counts for James Cameron movies, but we got to start considering at some point. He it's hard to bet against the guy. Like he just, I agree. I would put an asterisk by this. The moment I see a trailer, I may pull it off the list. But right now, I've waited 14 years and I've seen nothing of it. So I'm too curious to know what this movie is.
Same. But speaking of waiting years for a movie, that brings us to my number 1, and that is Clerks 3.
Yeah.
Written and directed by Kevin Smith. I'm a huge Kevin Smith fan. He's the reason why I want to become a filmmaker, why I wanted to become a filmmaker. One of the reasons I got into podcasting. So the show is happening because I listened to a Kevin Smith podcast. Love the story of Clerks. I think it really set the standard for independent filmmaking and showing that anybody can do it if you work hard enough. So it's a very important movie to me, and I actually really enjoyed the sequel, which came out, I believe, in 2006. So we've been waiting a long time for Clerks 3, and I'm just excited to go back into that universe. I love the characters because they truly feel like they're people you could meet on the street, or they're like friends that you've had for a long time. I think the dialogue has movies are very heavy on dialogue, but I love watching the characters interact with each other and what they say because Kevin Smith is such a great writer. They haven't announced, I think, a formal release date for this yet, but it'll be, I feel like I'm saying this ad nauseum, but it'll be a day one viewing for me. I can't wait for Clerks 3. I've been waiting for it since Clerks 2. I've enjoyed most of Kevin Smith's movies, but ever since Clerks 2 came out, this is the Kevin Smith movie I've been looking forward to the most, and we're finally getting it.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I love the first two. It's got a huge following. I'm very big on Kevin Smith right now because I loved Masters of the Universe. I know that that's a controversial opinion on the internet, but I am right now. I'm all in. So I'm excited to see his next thing, which I think pretty sure will be Clerks 3. So, and it's, how do you not love those characters, man? I mean, they're classics. Reagan's never seen either of them.
I'll go watch it. I don't know why. It's one of those. And Christian, you and us, I think this was with Mike and a group text, but I've mentioned like somehow in my life, there are movies that I know are like staple movies, legend movies, like cult classics, gotta see them. Everybody knows what you're talking about. There's some of those that I've seen. And then there's a whole bunch of them that somehow they just got right past me. And I knew it the whole time growing up or, into adulthood. Like I hear the movie, I'm like, I've never seen that. Like, what? I should go watch it. And I just don't. And that's what those movies are on the list. Like, I cannot tell you why I've never taken time to see them. I never have.
Man, that early run of Kevin Smith, like Clerks, Mallrats, Dogma,
Chasing Amy,
you really just can't beat it. It was a heck of a run to start that guy's career. And then Cop Out happened.
I guess I just need to do a day of Kevin Smith, right?
Yeah.
Just a quick tip for you. If you do that, don't do it with the family.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah. Yes. I pretty much knew that.
Not appropriate for your children.
Yeah. No, you definitely don't want to do that.
No.
But real quick, I'll skim through the listeners list. We actually got quite a few, and we'll love to get you guys' thoughts on this. From Josh Shinnework, his list, number 5, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Number 4, Jurassic World Dominion. That's a movie we haven't talked about.
That was sort of maybe on my list. That was on an honorable mention, I guess. Like I had it and I was like, let me just keep thinking through this. And I was like, I don't know. Like I love those movies, but
I love that franchise. I'm out on Colin Trevorrow though.
Yeah.
He's got to prove it to me before I'm back on board.
Yeah. I've enjoyed this one. I've enjoyed the reboots, but yeah, I'm just every single one that they announced. I'm like, we'll see. We'll see what.
I mean, Dr. Grant's back. I mean, how do you,
that's
hard not to be excited.
We're going back to nostalgia. That's one of the selling points is they're bringing back, some of the original cast, and they're supposed to have extensive roles. Like they're not just cameos. So that makes me excited for this. I mean, I'm going to see it. I liked the second one, I think, more than most people did, but the first one I was a big fan of, because it truly felt like going back to that universe and going back to the island. Was fun. So I'm curious to see what they do with this one.
I enjoyed the second one more than I enjoyed Lost World. Right? That's what it was called. Jurassic Park Lost World.
Yeah.
The original.
I enjoyed the Jurassic World more than I enjoyed this. Whatever. You get what I'm saying. The second one this time more than the second one last time.
Yeah, we got you, Regan.
Yeah. No, that I don't disagree with you on that actually. His number 3 is the Batman. 2, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Number 1, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. His honorable mentions, Morbius, John Wick 4, and one that I'm shocked we have not talked about yet, Thor, Love and Thunder.
So, okay, here's my thing. I will say, Morbius, I'm sorry, guy.
Nope,
can't get on board.
Not going to happen.
I can't get behind Jared Leto. He just doesn't do it for me.
You and me, brother.
Yeah. And back to changing stuff, like it just looks like a whole hot mess is what it looks like.
Yeah.
So
but with Thor, Love and Thunder, I've kind of soured on Ragnarok the more we've gotten away from it. However, I love Taika Waititi as a director. I visually, on my other podcast, Real Phonies, the guys like to joke about, if you look at me, you know exactly what I like. And so one of the things that if you look at me and you were to like, oh, The logo of this movie looks like the side of an 80s painted van that blasts Rush all the time. That seems like Christian's kind of crap. And you're right. It 100% is. So everything we've seen of this movie has me excited, but I'm just skeptical on getting it right a second time. Because I think of all characters Marvel has done, Thor's the one that they've kind of missed the most on.
Yep.
And the only time we've gotten it right is really Ragnarok, maybe Endgame, but so yeah, I'm nervous we can do it again. Lightning striking twice is a hard thing to do.
Yeah. Yep.
We'll definitely see. Tim Spivey, his honorable mentions: Thor: Love and Thunder, Morbius, Sonic 2, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, which I'm very curious to see how they handle Chadwick Boseman. And I think they're going to do a great tribute to him. I don't know what it is, but it's going to be an emotional movie for that reason.
Yeah, that's a good point.
He mentions Ant-Man Quantumania. I can't remember if they moved that up to 2022 or if it was pushed back to 2023. The MCU schedule has changed so much that it's tough to really keep up with what's coming out when.
That's why I kept only one MCU movie on here, honestly, is because I'm not confident we're even going to see Black Panther 2. I mean, that got, like a 2 or 3 month delay in shooting. That I think it's gonna be hard to make that release date, and Ant-Man's probably the same. I'm not sure where it falls on the release calendar.
But his number 5 is The Batman, number 4 Jurassic World Dominion, 3 Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, 2 John Wick Chapter 4, and number 1 Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse Part 1. Carlos Longoria, in no particular order: The Batman, Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore. We haven't really talked about that. Are you guys Harry Potter fans? Are you excited for that movie?
Harry Potter fans, yes. Fantastic Beasts fans, no.
Yeah, I'm not. I love Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Not sure I love Fantastic Beasts. I will say this: Jude Law, super sexy as Dumbledore. Mads Mikkelsen, I think, is going to be great as Grindelwald. I like that first trailer for that film. I'm not a big fan of the first 2 movies, but I do like the trailer for Secrets of Dumbledore.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. Thor: Love and Thunder, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. And his honorable mentions are Sonic 2 and Hocus Pocus 2, which that's going to be, I think, an under-the-radar popular movie because people of our generation, they loved that movie growing up.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're bringing all 3 of the sisters back is great. So I think it's going to be a fun watch.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Mr. Wally Phelps, The Batman, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, Thor: Love and Thunder, Scream, and Clerks 3. I'm actually a little excited for the new Scream. I really enjoy those movies. Yeah. It's going to be weird not having Wes Craven in the director's chair, but I think from what I've seen of it, I think it's going to be good.
Yeah, well, and going along the lines I was saying earlier about nostalgia and even like stuff like Legally Blonde 3, again, we've gotten to an era in going to the cinema when it's like you're just going to watch the Marvel movie and maybe some other action-packed movie, and everything else is totally irrelevant, and you might as well wait till it comes out on streaming, right? But we're getting a lot of throwback franchises that you just like. I want to see that in theaters. Like I want to go sit and get the whole experience out of that, even though it's not. I can probably watch it on my 65-inch screen TV and get the same experience, but like something about that era of movies that we're getting is exciting. And it's in a way that I think will start to trickle in more movies of those genres, and they'll see those being successful again, and hopefully start creating good original content in those genres.
I think
is one of those.
The interesting thing about Scream is it has something to say. I mean, that's the thing about the first one, is it really is kind of talking about making horror movies while making a horror movie.
Yeah.
And the genre has changed so much in the 25 years since the original came out that I think it's got something to say again.
That's a good point.
You're right, though. Without Wes Craven, I'm a little nervous. But again, everything we've seen from this movie kind of looks like they've nailed it. So I'm excited I am very excited to see this one as well.
It's going to be interesting because you look at the original Scream, it really kind of reinvented the horror genre when it came out. and mentioning the horror genre has changed even more since then. How is a series like Scream going to come back? What is it going to have to say? But from, like I said, from what I've seen of it, kind of excited for it. So I'm really looking forward. And I love the most recent poster they put out with the tagline, "The killer is on this poster." Like, it's such a Scream thing to do. I love it. I can't
Derek,
wait.
I was literally going to say the exact same thing after you.
That's awesome.
So great job.
Just hopped in your mind real quick.
Yeah.
Got that out. Jonathan McIntosh, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, The Batman, Top Gun Maverick, Jurassic World Dominion, and Thor Love and Thunder. He mentions as his honorable mentions Scream, Black Adam, which we also haven't talked about. I will watch it solely because of The Rock. I will watch him in anything.
Yeah, that and James Bond as Dr. Fate. Like,
yes,
Pierce Brosnan is such good casting for that role.
Yeah.
But I am not really excited for that movie at all. But I will watch it for those two guys, and I hope I love it.
Yeah.
He also lists Mission Impossible 7, Disenchanted, which is the sequel to a pretty underrated Disney movie that came out back in the day, and The Flash, which I'm mostly excited for, to see Michael Keaton back as Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
That's why that's not on my list at all. I'm more excited about a character that's not the title of that movie than I am the title character.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Mike Eveland, The Batman, Doctor Strange, Secrets of Dumbledore, Across the Spider-Verse, and Uncharted, which I'm a little excited for it. Yeah. And most video game movies aren't that great, but the trailer looks kind of cool.
Yeah, it started on my list because of Tom Holland and seeing him in that role. And then I was like, no, there's so many other movies coming out. Like, no, let's take that off the list. Like, I'm really excited for it now.
I think the trailer looks good. I think choosing Uncharted 4 as the kind of story framework we're gonna work with was an interesting choice. But I mean, again, like, everything we've seen looks pretty good. I'm old enough to remember when Mark Wahlberg was gonna play Nathan Drake, and now he's playing Sully, so he doesn't have the stash. But I'm pretty positive on it right now.
Yeah.
He also mentions as his honorable mentions Top Gun and Bob's Burgers. Is there a Bob's Burgers movie coming out?
There is a Bob's Burgers movie coming out.
Really? Yeah. I did not know that.
I don't watch the show, but it seems well loved.
Yeah.
So.
Steve Wise, The Batman, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, Thor Love and Thunder, Mission Impossible 7, and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse Part 1. Brandon Rutledge, his honorable mentions are The Batman, Fantastic Beasts, The Secret of Dumbledore, and Lightyear. Number 5, Jurassic World Dominion. Number 4, Turning Red, which is the next Pixar film that's coming out. Have you guys seen the trailer for that? It's the little girl who turns into into a giant red panda whenever she gets like stressed out or really excited. It looks pretty funny. So, and Pixar has had way more hits than misses. So, chances are it'll at worst be decent.
Yeah, it'll probably pull on some emotions, I'm sure.
Yeah. So. Number 3, Hotel Transylvania, Transformania. Number 2, John Wick Chapter 4, and number 1, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. And last but not least, from Samantha Owens, her honorable mentions are Scream and Halloween Ends. Her top 5, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, The Batman, Black Panther, Thor Love and Thunder, and Fantastic Beasts, The Secrets of Dumbledore. So thank you to everyone for submitting your list. And guys, thank you so much for coming on the show. This was a great discussion. No pun intended. It was a fantastic discussion.
Yeah. We appreciate it, man. It's been fun.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, for sure. And tell everybody where they can find your podcast.
Yeah, so we are at fantasticpeoplepod.com, and then also Apple, Spotify, Google, anywhere you get a podcast. Search Fantastic People. It's capitalize the FAN. You'll find it much faster. And we uncover the secret fandoms of the Gulf Coast VIPs. So yours truly, Derek Diamond, has been on a couple times by the time this comes out, and yeah, just really digging in to get to know people by what they're a fan of, and really unpacking sort of, what makes them tick through the thing that they love.
I'm also going to plug my other show.
Go for it, because it's relevant to this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I'm also host Real Phonies, which is 4 former movie theater managers pretending like they know things about the movie business after running a crappy movie theater. And yeah, I mean, we just talk about movie news and business and stuff like that, and act like we know what we're talking about. Hence the word phony.
Yeah, what's the thing you get? You what is it? You say a whole lot about, or act like a whole.
We take an exuberant love for movies and television and combine it with very little knowledge about movies and television.
There you go.
But it makes for a great podcast.
Yeah,
It does.
Yeah, definitely check out both shows. I've listened to both. They're great. Definitely go check them out. Guys, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah,
thanks, buddy.